So now we're going to learn how you can convert these cold emails into actual meetings. So what happens after you send an email? So there are a couple of things that will happen. One thing that might happen is the prospect might respond positively to that email if it's well written and ask for the meeting on the spot. Another thing that can happen is the prospect responds by asking for more information, and that's a little bit of and this is where you're going to have to use some objective handling. The next thing that might happen is the prospect doesn't respond to your email at all, and we'll show you how to figure that out. And the fourth thing that may happen is the prospect will respond saying that they are not interested. So throughout this entire section of the course, we're going to show you how to handle all of these rebuttals so that you know exactly what to say when they happen. This is what's going to happen when a person or prospect responds positively to your email. So if the prospect responds immediately with a day and time of when they are available for a meeting, all you want to do is ask them for the best number to reach them at, because sometimes it's a lot better to their phone number and dial them directly and let them know that you'll be sending them a calendar invite as soon as they give you that phone number. And you could do the calendar invite on whichever scheduling tool you use. I use Google Calendars and it works really well. So the other thing you can do is, instead of asking them for their phone number, and if you want to do the conversation over your conference line, you can send them a calendar invite with your dial-in number on your conference line and respond to the email letting them know that you did it, meaning that you sent them a calendar invite with all the information in there. So those are the possible two options. One is getting their phone number and calling them directly. The other is using your conference line. Whichever one you prefer, both are fine. Here's an example of how you would do that response. So let's say John responds to your email at saying that he's interested in doing the meeting, and you will respond back saying, "Hey John, great hearing from you. What's the best number to reach you at for our call? Once you send that over, I'll go ahead and send you a calendar invite. Looking forward to chatting with you soon. Thanks, Patrick." So here, it's very clear what I'm doing. I'm asking him to give me his phone number so that when we are scheduled to have that conversation, I'm just going to go ahead and call him. So here's the example email response to when you're using a conference line. "Hey John, great hearing from you. I just sent over a calendar invite for this Thursday at 11:30 with my conference line attached to it. Side note, in the context of this email is that John responded to you saying that he wanted a meeting for Thursday at 11:30, and so you're just responding back, and then you're telling him when exactly that meeting is scheduled so that everyone knows exactly and there's no issues with timing or scheduling. Then the next sentence is, "If you have any questions in the meantime, or if there are any changes in scheduling, feel free to send me a note. Talk soon, Patrick." So this is just another example of how you would schedule a meeting once someone responds positively to your email. So there are instances where the prospect doesn't propose a time for you to have a meeting, and so this is how you want to do it. And this is the event where they respond positively, but don't necessarily put a time when they're free. So what you want to do is you want to respond back with 2 different days that you're available with 3 different time slots. And you want to give them a lot of options so they don't have to really think about it and they just pick a time slot and then you guys go from there. You also want to show that your schedule is flexible just in case that these time slots aren't the best fit for their schedule. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. So here's going to be the example. So it says, "Hey John, great hearing from you. Here are a couple times that work for me this week. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, along with all the specific times." And then notice I'm including the day of the week plus the actual day of October 24th and the time, and I'm putting in the time zone, which is very important that you're 100% clear on this. Then the next sentence will say, "Go ahead and pick a time that works best for you, and I'll send over a calendar invite with my conference line info. But if none of these times work for you, let me know what does, and I'll work around your schedule. Thanks, Patrick." So as you can see, I made it very easy for them to pick a time for us to have that meeting, and I'm telling him exactly to pick a time and tell it to me, and I'll send him a calendar invite. And lastly, if none of the times don't work for his schedule, he has the option to give me a time, and I'll go ahead and work around that. So again, you want to make it crystal clear exactly what you're trying to do. So there are going to be instances where the prospect just straight up does not respond to your email at all. And we're going to show you exactly how you are going to handle this. So here's the reasons for why prospects don't respond. The first thing you want to take note of is you never want to take rejection too personally, because there are a lot of reasons for why prospects don't respond. And the thing is, because you don't necessarily know why, a lot of times we make the mistake of making an assumption like that person hates us or our email sucks. But really, we want to get to the truth of things. And the first way to get there, or the best way to get there, is to not take it too personally. Now, here's why people don't respond to emails. One, your email might have just got lost in their inbox. People get emails every day, and maybe they saw it and then they, it got totally smothered in other emails that they got throughout the entire day. Second thing that might have happened is they intended to respond, but just totally forgot. And that happens all the time because people are forgetful. Number three, they had other priorities at the moment. So maybe they thought your email was interesting, but at the time, maybe there's something really important going on for their business. So evaluating a new opportunity wasn't really top of mind. The fourth thing that may have happened is they didn't read your email fully and didn't realize the value you could deliver. So maybe they read it, skimmed it, and thought, hey, this is not for me. And so even though it may have been a really good fit to work with each other, maybe they didn't fully read it and didn't realize the full value proposition. So for all these are a couple of reasons for why people don't respond to emails. We don't want to make any assumptions here, right? There's a million different reasons for why people don't respond to email. We just know that they didn't respond, and we have to be top of mind and continue the conversation. So here's what we're going to do to follow up with people who just don't respond. Here's what you want to do. You want to follow up with a schedule, and it really depends on different industries and the products. But for the most part, you want to follow up with an email every 3 to 7 days. I wouldn't go beyond 7 days because then too much time has passed. So you want to just choose a time between 3 to 7, whichever works best for you or whichever you're comfortable with. And for larger companies, I would recommend having a bigger gap. And for smaller companies, I would have a smaller gap. So if you're going after small businesses in California, you could do every 3 days. You want to follow up with that person. But if you're going for big companies like an Oracle or a Microsoft or an Apple, I would do every 7 days to space it out. Now, you only want to follow up with a person 3 times maximum. I think if you follow up more than 3 times, it does get annoying. Some people do have the argument that if you keep staying persistent, maybe you'll get it. But I would rather move on to another client who may be more interested than wasting my time following up with somebody 10 times and have no responses. So it's up to you what you want to do, but rule of thumb, I would just follow up 3 times maximum. So here's how you're going to follow up. First example. So you send an email, person doesn't respond. Here's what you say. Hey, John, I never heard back from anyone last week. If it makes sense to talk, let me know what your calendar looks like. If not, who is the appropriate person to talk to? Thanks, Patrick. In this example, you're not even referring to what the email is about. You're just saying you never heard back from anybody last week. This is really good with the appropriate person strategy that I taught you guys earlier in this course. And you're just saying, hey, if it still makes sense to talk, let me know what your calendar looks like. If not, who should I talk to? And so that person might respond back. It's like, oh, sorry, I didn't see your email. Or they might say, oh, John's the right person to talk to. And then you would go from there. So example number 2. And this is when you want to put in what exactly you're trying to have a conversation about. So it says, hey, John, I want to follow up on my email below about helping you increase, then you put in your unique value. If it still makes sense to talk, let me know what your calendar looks like. Thanks, Patrick. So here's another way. Let's say you're trying to increase their sales, you could say, I want to follow up on my email below about helping you increase your sales by doing XYZ. If it makes sense to talk, let me know what your calendar looks like. So it's a really nice way to just follow up and, send an email. So when you're following up 1 to 3 different times, you want to have these emails have some slight variation so it doesn't seem like they're talking to a robot. So you can use a combination of the two and then create another variation for the third one. Some email follow-up tools that you can check out. Boomerang is a really nice Chrome extension that you can use for Gmail. So if you're doing something basic, I would recommend Boomerang, or Yesware, which is another one that allows you to schedule follow-ups and, automate your email sending. But if you're sending a ton of emails, like hundreds or dozens every single day, you might want to automate this with some sales software like Outreach.io. So it really depends on your business and how many emails you're sending and what you're trying to do. But if you're just checking out, different sales software, go ahead and just check out Boomerang, Yesware, and Outreach.io to get started. See which one works best for you. And if none of these work for you, go ahead and just Google up some email SaaS automation tools, and I'm sure you'll find one that will fit. So that's pretty much how you're going to follow up with different people using our strategies. And let's go ahead and move on to the next. Another thing that you might want to do if the prospect doesn't respond to your third follow-up, you can either let it go and make the assumption that they're just purely not interested and just move on to the next person, because you could just find another person who might be a better fit. Or if you want to spend the time to cold call, you can just cold call the company and see what you can do there and start an initial dialogue. So for the sake of this course, we're only focusing on the cold emails, and cold calling is a whole different category. So it's really up to you on what you want to do. But if you're going for a pure email strategy and you want your initial conversations to be scalable and automated, I would just move on to the next one and find someone who may be a better fit. Hey, what's up, guys? So there's going to be a lot of instances where you send somebody a cold email and they're going to respond back to you asking for more information. Now, when the prospect asks for more information, here's a couple things you do want to do and don't want to do. The first is you don't want to send the prospect an information packet or a deck, slide deck, or anything of that sort. The reason is because you want to say enough to get them on the phone, and you can sell much better over the phone or through an in-person conversation than a PDF can or a slide deck can. And so again, when you're responding to an email of somebody asking for more information, your goal is simply to respond and give them just enough information to want to take a phone call or a meeting with you. Now, let's go ahead and get into an example. Let's say the prospect says, "Can you send over some information about this before a call?" It seems like a logical step. They want to learn a little bit more to figure out if they're wasting their time with you or not. And so here's what you're going to say. You're not going to send them any PDF. You're not going to send them a slide deck. You're just going to respond in the plain email. So let's say somebody asks you for more information. Here's what you're going to say to them. "Hey, John, great hearing from you. Now, we've helped businesses like yours grow by action, but that's just a small fraction of what we do. More importantly, for us to see if there's really a fit to work with each other here, it's best if I can understand your current situation better. Figuring this out shouldn't take too much time. Do you have 10 minutes to hop on a call over the next few days? Thanks, Patrick." So here what I'm doing is I am acknowledging that they're asking for more information, and I'm saying I've helped a lot of businesses do this thing that help businesses grow. And rather than trying to sell them immediately right off the bat, I'm just suggesting that I need a little more information to see if it makes sense to work with each other. And so the best way to figure out if there's a fit is obviously a phone conversation, and I'm just going to leave it at that. And what you don't want to do is have emails going back and forth, because that typically leads, for the most part, nowhere. You want to get them on the phone as quick as possible, or an in-person meeting as quick as possible, because through a conversation, you're really going to figure out if they're actually a fit for you.